Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Crime Family. I am your co-host, Lisa, and I'm here with one of my co-hosts, my brother, AJ. Katie couldn't be here today at the time of this recording. It is Easter Sunday, so Katie is busy with the little ones playing Easter Bunny, and so it's just me and AJ today. And the case I have for you today is a very strange one, and I think it's one that we haven't really done at all in all the seasons of this podcast. It has to do with UFOs and aliens, and did this person get abducted, or did he try to go to space, and is he still there today? So this is the story of Granger Taylor. So the storm was heavy in Duncan, BC on the night of November 29th, 1980, and Granger Taylor was about to head out on an important mission. The storm had come, and that was his sign. He taped a note to his parents' door, got into his Datsun truck, and vanished into the night, never to be seen again, becoming one of the greatest mysteries of Vancouver Island. So, Grange Ormond Taylor was an unusual child. According to his mom and stepdad, he was withdrawn and socially awkward, but what he lacked in social skills, he made up for tenfold with his extraordinary aptitude and love for mechanics. He would spend most of his childhood in his bedroom taking apart gadgets. He was very, very bright, but he dropped out of school right before ninth grade and started working as an apprentice for his neighbor as a mechanic. He had only been doing that for a year before he figured he had gathered all the skills he needed to set out on his own. So he set up shop in his parents' house and started tinkering around with his own projects. So, by all accounts, Granger was considered a genius. Everyone says he was literally a genius from a very, very young age. When he was 12, he actually built a car, and it only took him a year, and the car was actually up and running. Not long after that, he rebuilt a bulldozer. So he's 12 years old building a car that runs. That's unheard of. Every morning around 8 a.m., him and his best friend, Robert, would go out to his farm, his parents' farm, and Granger would work on airplanes or spaceships or a cosmic doorway. He actually rebuilt an entire airplane from just looking at photos. And when he was done, the plane looked identical to the replica. And he actually got the airplane to hover above the ground using chains and a tree. He didn't have a runway, so he made do, and he used the throttle that actually had it hovering. And people would come all over to watch him demonstrate this. So this is a guy who was in his teens who built an airplane. It's just insane. So actually, a Kitty Hawk plane from the Second World War that Granger restored was actually on display for years in the Duncan area. He's from Duncan, BC, a small town on Vancouver Island. And then a private collector actually purchased it, and now it's displayed in North Dakota, the airplane that he built. And then some of Granger's restored trains and cars have made their way into the BC Forest Discovery Center in Duncan. So was everyone was amazed by this kid who would build cars and airplanes, and they actually ended up displaying them in museums and stuff. Eventually, he actually put together like a spaceship, kind of. He made it by putting together two satellite dishes, and that spaceship kind of became like a hangout for everyone, for all his friends. And he actually kind of used that spaceship as like a meditation set. Like he would go there to meditate and kind of gather his thoughts, and that was like his think tank as well. So that was his life. Before 1980, he was just a genius building all these mechanical things. He was obsessed with spaceships and aliens, and he was just living his life in the small town of Duncan. So the strangeness of the story all began in early November of 1980. So this is when Granger, he actually started having dreams of aliens. And he would tell his friends and family that in these dreams, aliens would communicate with them, and they would tell him they wanted him to come to their planet. And when his friends hear this, they laugh it off, like, okay, whatever you say, Granger. And like Granger didn't have a history of making things up. He wasn't a liar. He wasn't someone who like told grandiose stories. So, I mean, some people actually, like, when he said this, they actually like, oh, like they believed him. But Granger can't get over how vivid the dreams are, and he swears to his friends that these dreams are real. And he goes on to tell his friends that like every night the aliens actually come in his room and stand by his bed. And each time they come, they would give him a little bit more information, and then a little bit more, and then a little bit more. He then said when the aliens do come to get him, it will be under the cover of a storm, and because the storm will hide the noise of the spaceship. He describes the spaceship they would arrive in on as about a mile across in size, so the aliens will have to hide it above the clouds. And every single night, he would have a dream like this, and it would continue for weeks. So, right before the night he vanished, he got into his truck and he drove around the small town of Duncan, telling everyone he was going on an interstellar voyage. I'm not really sure what these people around town thought. I mean, Duncan is a very small town. Everyone knows everyone. Everyone knew Granger. He was very likable. There was nothing off or kooky or crazy about him. No one had a bad thing to say about him. So some of them really were like, "Oh, good for you!" Like they really thought he was going on an interstellar voyage. So on the night of November 29th, 1980, a huge storm arrives. And it's actually the weather system actually calls it the storm of the century. It was like a huge storm. Apparently, it was like the biggest storm in 100 years on in Duncan. There was thunder, lightning, a bunch of trees were blown down. So on this night, Granger's parents find a note on their door, and it's from Granger. And the note says, "Dear Mother and Father, I have gone away to walk aboard an alien spaceship. As recurring dreams assured, a 42-month interstellar voyage to explore the vast universe, then return. I am leaving behind all my possessions to you, as I will no longer require the use of any. Please use the instructions in my will as a guide to help. Love, Granger." And then on the back of this note, there's like a hand-drawn map of Waterloo Mountain, which is not far from his family's farm. So after reading this and they find out Granger isn't home and no one knows where he is, this is when they call the police to report him missing. And the police start searching for him right away. So they go into the town of Duncan, which was the last place he was seen. The police round up all the witnesses who had seen Granger that last night. They talked to people at gas stations, shops, and restaurants, and they wanted to see if Granger had mentioned anything about where he was going or if he planned to bring any provisions or anything. But everyone the police spoke to said the same thing. He mentioned an interstellar voyage. He came to say goodbye, and they said he told them he was going to be taken. Other than that, nothing. He didn't seem out of it or on something. It was just a normal Granger. And it's weird because there's an episode called an episode I've never seen again. And in it, people are just so normal about the fact that he was like going on an interstellar voyage. They were like, "Oh, how we'll see you when you get back." Like they didn't think it was odd. I don't know. It's weird to me as someone who's like a little bit like, I don't know about UFOs or aliens or whatever. Like they were just like, "Okay, we'll see you in 42 months." Like it's odd, the reaction of the residents.
Do they get interviewed? Like, do they actually get interviewed?
His sister and his friend do. The police do, and then just in other articles and stuff I read more, people talk about it, and he's just so like, "All right, he's going on a voyage." It's I don't know. It's weird. I don't know. So he's going around town saying goodbye to everyone. He'll be back in 42 months. He's going up to space. And they're just like, "All right, we'll see you when you get back." I don't know. It's
Did they
just
actually think that though, or are they just saying that to him? Like, "Oh, we'll see you when you get back." Like maybe kind of
well,
like, like humoring him, even though they were kind of like, okay, this is
I'm sure some
clearly
of them
something's
were,
off.
but you'll see later on, like some people still think he's in space. So it's just normal Granger to say this. Though nothing, they didn't think anything weird about him coming to say goodbye or anything. Police then discovered that Granger left a will, but he made two alterations of this will. So the first alteration was the word funeral was deleted, and then the second alteration was the word death was deleted and replaced by the word departure. So that's just a little like strange. So literally, like he vanished, and for 6 years, everyone thought he was on a voyage. I guess like there's no sign of him. He left of his own, and police never thought for 1 second there was foul play. They never thought. They just thought he took off, and like they had nothing to really go on. He left during a storm by himself in a truck. They didn't really know where to start really looking for him. So for 6 years, there's no sign of him at all. And then in 1986, some tree planters are in the Duncan area on a rural road when they come across a wreckage of some sort. Upon closer inspection, they see it is a vehicle, and the vehicle is completely destroyed, and the engine is in such a state that it looks like it was part of some sort of explosion. And some parts of the vehicles were located up in trees several meters away. So the investigators and the members of his family head up to take a look, and the investigators, like, when he went missing, they have Granger's vehicle registration number and the vehicle identification number, and they are able to determine that the truck is Granger's. But other people, like, to me, it is his then. If that's like that, there's no dispute. That's his. It matches his registration. But there's people that people aren't so sure that that is his truck. Because the biggest thing is, like, to this day, the color of Granger's truck has never been confirmed, and it's still something that is debated to this day. So the truck that was found was a bluish color, but everyone says Granger's truck was never blue. His truck had been brown, and then Robert, his best friend, said they had painted the truck like Pepto-Bismol pink. But then his stepbrother says, no, it was never pink. It was gray. So whether it was gray or pink, it's sure not this bright blue that they found. But it
But
matches
maybe, like, do you
Granger's.
think, like, if it caught on fire, if it exploded, like, maybe that changes, like, the heat, changes the color or, like, the tint of it? Because, like, I feel like maybe that is possible. Like, wait, what color did they say it was when it was found?
Blue. It's like a bright blue, but like his best friend saying it was Pepto-Bismol pink when he left, and then his stepbrother's like it was never pink. So right away, it's like they're like, and to this day, they still can't agree on what color his truck was when he had left. So people think it's not his truck, but I mean the register matches his, but and like it's so weird that
I think it
they
has to be his
don't.
truck. Like, if the VIN number matches, like, that's literally the point of a VIN number is, like, to
Right,
know the
right.
car.
But
Like,
people
I
to
feel
this
like
day like that. Even his like stepbrother stuff, and it's like that's not his truck up there. It's just not.
my first thought, I think, is, like, maybe if something catches fire, like, it does maybe change the color of it or the shade of it or something, right? Like, I don't know, maybe
That's a good
heat.
point.
Especially if it's spray painted, like, maybe, like, when that burns off or, like, when it gets exposed to heat, like, maybe it change I don't know the I'm not I don't know the physics
Yeah,
of
I
that,
just wondered though.
but, like
Yeah, yeah,
but that was my
but I
first
think,
thought, like, I don't know.
and I'm like, well, maybe like he disappeared and then he could have painted it again before he something happened to him. But um, also like the fact that like people in his life, close people in his life, his family and his friends can't agree on the color that it was. That's a little weird. So to this day, in 2026, it's still not settled on what color his truck actually was, which is just so weird to me because his friend's like, I helped him paint it pink. And his stepbrother's like, it was never pink. It's like, what? So
Yeah, that's
that's
weird.
right? It's very weird. So people think it's not his truck, but the registration, like to me, if they say, oh, this is his truck based off the registration, okay, that's his truck. But a lot of people in the community and his friends and family, like, that's not his truck. Like when they seen it, like that's not his truck. Like, it's weird. I don't know. Yeah.
But you wouldn't think, like, the VIN is the VIN, like, even if you paint it, the VIN number is gonna be the identifier.
It's weird that like his family's still saying that's not his truck. But it's the VIN number. To me, VIN number, okay, that is the
Yeah.
vehicle. But
Like, to me, like,
even
if
people,
to me, I would think, like, if I was I mean, like, it's hard to say what you'd think in their position, but for me, it's almost like I would think, "Okay, it is the truck, so how do we explain the change of color? Someone else painted it, someone else tried to hide the fact that it was." Like, I wouldn't say it's not the truck. I'm like, I think the VIN makes it clear it is the truck. Like, I don't know.
yeah, but they're like, that's not his truck. Not everyone thinks that, but some people in his life, they're like, that's not Granger's truck. It's just weird. It's yeah. So Also, while at the scene, Granger's stepbrother comes across a piece of cloth from a shirt that matched a shirt Granger owned. And it wasn't just like a shirt you can buy at a mall that like a million people have. It was actually like a piece of shirt that Granger's mother had made him. It was like a unique shirt that Granger would. And it's not clear if he wore it the day he went missing or if he just used to wear it a lot, but it's like a piece of cloth from a shirt that Granger used to wear all the time. That's found at the scene. So that's another thing they found. But then after some more searching, they find some human remains. But it's just a few bones. It's just like it's not like a complete set of bones. It just on the episode it looks like there's a big I don't know what part of the body it is, but it's just like one big bone, a couple other bones around the site. But since the police didn't have any fingerprints or dental records of Grangers to compare, they weren't 100% sure it was him. But the police are almost certain it's him because it's his car. The coroner, with used his discretion. So the fact that it was his car, a piece of the shirt he was wearing, the coroner uses his discretion to make an assumption that it was Granger. So a coroner's inquest concluded that Granger likely died in an explosion that destroyed the vehicle, and he thought maybe this had happened because Granger had been transporting dynamite at the time, and then it blew up. That's what the coroner comes up to. And it's not determined whether the explosion was accidental or intentional. And Granger was known to carry dynamite regularly, as it was commonly used in the area for tree stump removal, and he had experience in handling it. And I guess, like, before he went missing, some dynamite from his parents' farm had gone missing. So they thought maybe it was him with dynamite. So once the police and the coroner make this assumption, by law, they were supposed to hand over the bones to the next of kin. But in this 2022 episode of Never Been Again, his family says to this day they never received anything from police. They never received any of his bones, they never received anything. So some people, police included, think they have found Granger, but others are not sure. There's so many people that think that's not Granger's body, that's not Granger. So of course the theories and rumors start. So there's a few theories that they touch on in this episode, and I read about online that they think happened to Granger. So the theory number one is the one where he is off in space. So they think there's a lot of people, including his close friends and some members of his family, that believe, and to this day, believe he actually did go to space and he's still there. He was not known to be a liar, to make up grandiose stories. So when he went around telling people he was going to space, most people believed that that's where he was going, which is so crazy to me. Like, you're just gonna go to space by yourself? Like, it's the mindset of this town when it came to this. It's like he went to space, seen in 42 months. Like, it's just weird. It's so strange. It is.
How old
It's
was he when he went missing?
32.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, like, honestly, to me, I was thinking, like, was he, like, having some type of, like, mental health
I
crisis or something? Because, like, that would be my thought. If somebody came up to me and said, like, that they were going on this interstellar journey for 42 months, like, that's what I would think. Like, oh, like, maybe something's not right. Especially, like, saying it the way that, going by yourself. Like, he's not like an
yeah,
astronaut
and
or something.
and
Like, he's just,
like it's gonna happen when there's a storm because that way no one will hear the UFO. So when the storm came and his best friend is adamant that he went to space, like he said that it was gonna happen under the guise of a storm. And then the storm happened. How do you know a storm was gonna happen? I'm like, well, a storm was gonna happen eventually. Next
yeah,
time
there's going to be a
yeah,
storm. Yeah.
like he made it seem like how did he know? But next time it stormed, he would have went. Like it's a storm's gonna happen sometime. So I don't think
Yeah. But it
that's
just
like
happened to be the storm of the
of
century,
the
literally.
century. Yeah, like
Yeah.
the 100-year storm they called it. They
And
call it the
when,
storm of the century.
how long in advance before the disappearance did he start having those dreams?
So
Did you say? Like,
early November, and then he went missing on November 29th.
oh,
So
okay.
all of
So literally
November,
just a few weeks.
yeah, all of November. But I read he had started getting. I'll talk about this later, but he kind of had become fascinated with space after some people had said they had seen UFOs flying. He kind of became obsessed with this whole space thing. But as early as November, he started having these dreams every night, the same dream. The aliens were coming into his room, telling him they needed him for a mission, and this is what was going to happen. And it was going to happen when a storm happened. So it's just, and then he left that note. It's just so strange, right? Yeah, it's odd. Okay.
It's very
So
weird.
I know. So theory number one, he's off in space. So a lot of people, including his close friends and his sister, who he's really close to, they believe he actually did go to space and he's still there. So his sister even says on the episode Never Seen Again that she thought, okay, he'll be gone for 42 months. He may have gone to space, but if he did, he'll be back. Like she was so like, okay. And she goes on to say that Granger was immensely talented and had talents that the aliens could use. So it made sense to her that the aliens would want Granger to go to space and help them. And to this day, his family still has hope he will return from space. So that's I'm sorry. It's so weird, right?
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know.
yeah,
It's
so
weird.
yes, so that's the first theory. He literally like what he said he was going to do in his note, people think he went off to space. That's literally what he went to do. And the aliens came to get him on a storm, and off he went. So that's the first theory. And they also say his stepbrother was a Coast Guard, and on the night that Granger was to return 42 months later, he sat on the deck of the boat and looked up at the sky and watched and waited, but he didn't come back that night or any other night after. So, like, he's literally looking up, waiting for him
Wait, how did he know the exact night
42 months
did he
later from the
say?
note.
Oh,
No, he
okay.
didn't say, actually. That's a good point. Just 42 months out. Maybe 42 months to the day. It's exactly 42 months later. That's maybe
I guess, yeah.
November 29th, 42 months later. Anyway, he looked up at the day night he was supposed to return. He spent all night looking up at the sky, seeing if the UFO would come and drop him off. I know. I don't know if this is like normal and like I don't know if Duncan is just like they're the most chill people I've ever met. I actually I never met them, but the most chill people I've ever heard about. And, like they're just so like, you went to space, all right. I don't know. It's just so that's the first theory. Theory two is perhaps the government took him to work at a place like Area 51. Like you know Area 51, right?
Yeah,
Like Area
yeah.
51 is a mysterious corner of a Nevada test site. So again, Granger is someone they could use or would need because of his intelligence. He actually was working on anti-gravity and he knew how to build things. Like he was a genius. He could build stuff. He was 12 years old and he built a car. Like he was a genius and that the government might have needed him for artificial
But how
intelligence
did they know
stuff.
about him, though?
I don't know. It's the
They just
government, I
found him?
guess.
I
I
mean,
don't know.
I guess, yeah, they have
Yeah.
intelligence
So they
anywhere, yeah.
yes. So I think the government took him and he's working at it. Went to work at Area 51 or something like that. That's another theory. Um, so
But why would they not tell the family, though?
I
Like,
don't
I guess
know.
if it's top secret, like, I guess, but, like, why wouldn't you just say, like, "We can't explain the details, but, like, he's working" like, or something, like, I find it weird.
Don't worry, he's fine.
And then
Like he's
also, like, not looping in, like you think if it was a government and they, like, took him, you'd think they would loop in, like, the local police and be like, "Actually, he's not missing, so you don't have to, like, spend your time and resources, like, searching for this person who is not actually missing." And that doesn't explain the car either. Like, why would the government? I mean, I don't know. Who knows? I mean, the government could do crazy things, but it's just weird. Yeah.
yeah, it's very weird. So that's the second theory. So the third theory is the blast. So it's like I said, when the vehicle was found, it looked like there had been an explosion. So they think Granger blew himself up trying to get to space. He was familiar with dynamite, and some dynamite, like I said, had gone missing from his parents' property the night he disappeared. And residents of Duncan said they remember hearing a big boom not long after Granger left in his truck. And they're wondering, was the boom the sound of the UFO leaving Earth with Granger inside, or was it the sound of Granger blowing himself up accidentally or not, or could it have been thunder because it was the storm of the century that night? So they think he blew himself up trying to get to space. That's another theory. Which kind of seem, I mean, I'm kind of leaning towards
Yeah.
that one.
Or it could have been like a transformer blowing from the storm, like got
Exactly, yeah.
struck by lightning
But
or something.
it makes sense, like, why the aliens said they would come that night because the sound of the UFO could be thunder, it could be anybody. Like, that's why they were choosing a storm. It's just odd. It's just isn't this crazy? Back in 19 so this is kinda like a background of what kinda made Granger go into his love for, like, spaceships and stuff. Back in 1969, 4 staff at the hospital reported seeing at 5 a.m. in the morning a brilliant, bright lit flying saucer hovering outside the window about 3 stories off the ground. One of the nurses claimed to have seen 2 humanoid pilots standing in the cockpit through its window. Um, The nurse watched as it drifted behind a grove of trees before flying away into the night sky. Later that morning and throughout the following night, residents from all over the town of Duncan came forward with reports of a similar looking UFO flying throughout the region. So for months, everyone became obsessed with these sightings, and it was the talk of the town. And it seemed like Granger had jumped on the bandwagon too. Not long after he finished his locomotive he was building, he became interested in the dynamics of air travel, and he ended up getting his pilot license. So in 1969, people, and we've heard it before, like people say they saw UFO or whatever. I don't know, and like if that's, I don't know how I feel about that, but anyway, I guess
Yeah.
1969, a bunch of people, even someone from the, um, like this one pilot, he, they all said they saw this flying saucer hovering above the ground. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's 90, and also 1969 is a little bit significant in my mind because that's the year of the moon landing. Yeah. So maybe the aliens were pissed
Yeah,
that,
like you
or
invaded us, we're invading you.
yeah,
Yeah, like you came. Yeah.
interesting.
Anyway, it's just right.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
maybe that kind of, they trace that back to what Granger's kind of interest in space started because of these sightings that everyone had. So, despite the best efforts of the police investigators, they were never able to determine where the blast site actually was. They saw the aftermath, but they don't know where it actually happened. I think like that's where like the truck like they landed there, but they can't find it where actually the blast site actually happened. So, theory number 4 is suicide. So, people close to him say he was not suicidal at all. He never had mental health issues, but it does emerge that he did have a history of using LSD. He used it a lot in his 20s. And as you know, well, maybe you don't know, but LSD, like, you can get like LSD flashbacks years after using it and kind of go, like, people get hallucinations years after using it. But by the time he hit his 30s, he mellowed out, and his best friend said he didn't use those drugs anymore. He smoked weed and alcohol, but that was it. But like I said, LSD can have lifelong effects, and even if you don't use it for years, sometimes flashbacks can come out of nowhere. So people think he was using LSD again, or the LSD usage likely contributed to maybe mental health issues or not. So it's just so weird. People close to him, a lot of people say he didn't have any mental health issues. Other people say he was struggling mentally. They said his mental health had started to decline in recent months before he vanished. There's actually an article in Vice magazine that back in 2016 that reports that he had been using LSD regularly before he disappeared. But his best friend's like he didn't. Once he hit 30, he never used it again. So I mean, we never know. It's like this is
Sometimes
like
your best friend doesn't know everything about you, though.
I know, and he's like no, we never used it. Well, he left that in part in his 20s. He didn't use it. But other people are like no, he was still using acid. So his stepbrother thinks Granger killed himself. His stepbrother thinks that. He thinks, but no, he's serious. He thinks he took his own life. So that's theory number 4. Theory number 5 is he said a lot of people think he relocated to like Colombia or Mexico. So one of his friends from Colombia gave him these leaves to build a tree, but the climate in BC was not right, and he was saying how much it would how nice it'd be to go to a farm in South America. And people think he took off to Colombia, South America. So maybe he moved abroad to become a farmer of some sort and never told anybody. So that's another theory. So those are the 5 theories that the big five theories that people think. I think out of those theories, I think he probably blew himself up trying to get to space because he was adamant he was going to space. That's what I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I think, I mean, just based on this last half an hour of learning about this case, I don't know. I feel like he probably was maybe having some type of mental health disorder, like mental health crisis or something, and like was adamant that he was going to space and blew himself up. Maybe like, yeah, trying to get there, thinking in his own mind he was going to go there and just blew himself up. Maybe he was having those dreams as part of like either LSD flashback or like just psychosis. And when it was the storm
A
was happening,
storm. The voice
he
in
was
his
like,
head's
this
like
is it.
today's the night. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So then that's when he did it, I think. So blew himself up thinking that he was going to go to space or something.
yeah. So Granger Taylor was declared legally dead in 1986. Which not long after that vehicle was found. And the date of his death was listed as November 30th, 1980, which I'm not sure why, but that's he went missing the 29th, but he's declared dead on the 30th. Like they say he died on the 30th because they think he blew himself up that night. But there's still so many questions to this day. It's like, so was it Granger? Inconclusive. And like, was it Granger at the site? It's inconclusive. Like, they don't know for sure. They never could test those bones. They don't know it was Granger. The bones, anyway.
Why couldn't they test them again?
They just didn't have any. They had no fingerprints. They didn't. They had nothing to confirm against. Like, no fingerprints, no dental records, no DNA of him at all. So they couldn't.
Weird.
Yeah. So was it Granger? Inconclusive. Was it Granger's truck? That's also inconclusive. Like, people think it's not his truck, but it's his registration. Like, they still to this day, like, they don't think it, they still don't, they're not 100% sure that that was his truck, which is just weird to me. So the debate still wages on 4 decades later. Like, the color of the truck is still a debate. Like, on the end of that episode, it says the color of the truck has never been settled. Like, it's never been confirmed. Like, it's crazy. His parents, who have since passed, they had kept his room intact since the day he left. And they still, to this day, his family keeps the back door unlocked for when Granger does come home because they believe he will come home. He's going to walk in the door from his voyage. And his sister says, like in this interview, like, space is a different time zone than us. So when Granger does come back from space, we're not going to be alive. But Granger's still going to look the same as he did when he left. And then she jokes that the best anti-aging product is space. And that's where the episode ends.
So he could like walk home like 300 years from now, but it's only been like
That's
nothing
what
for him.
sister's like, when Granger does come back, we're not going to be alive. But he's gonna still look 32 years old. And he's gonna walk through, and they keep the back door unlocked for when Granger does come home. And it's still like, the police think it's concluded. That was him. They found his truck. That he exploded. But people in Duncan is like, his best friend even said, like, he doesn't believe he never really believed in aliens or that aliens ever came to Earth. But he's like, Granger's not here. Like, he's like, I don't believe in aliens. I don't believe like they would ever come to Earth. But he's like, I also think since Granger's not here, he has to be in space. Like, he can't fathom that he just left or like had a mental health crisis,
I find
right?
it crazy that like they find the vehicle, they find the bones, but somehow that is less of a reasonable explanation than he went to space. That like it seems like it's kind of cut and dry. Like it's weird that they would say, "Oh no, that's more un unlikely than the fact that he did go to space."
And like, his best friend was saying, like, the cops didn't really talk. He's saying the cops never once talked to him. He was the last person to see Granger. And he's like, the cops back, he's like, from 1980 to 2022, when this episode aired, he's like, the cops never once came to talk to me. But the cop on the episode's like, actually, we did. He just doesn't remember. It's like so many things, like, no, like, and then they're thinking like the cops didn't really try to investigate it too much because they just, as soon as they saw him the truck, like, that's Granger, no problem. Like,
Yeah.
but and the coroner's like, I'm not even. Coroner's like, I'm not even sure it is him, but based off A, B, and C, I'm gonna assume it is. So it was never fully confirmed if it was him. So I mean,
Yeah.
the
I
people
I
this
feel like the coroners and the police, they can't operate on this level of like space is is an actual explanation. So they have to like go based on like what's actually like tangible, which seems like the vehicle with the VIN number and the bones and like so obviously all of like the officials like the police and like the medical exam all that stuff whatever is going to be like okay this is him because like they can't base it on a reality of like he's gone to space as a reasonable explanation. Like that's not how the police are going to operate.
yeah,
So
but I mean, it's considered to most residents of Vancouver Island, of Duncan, still unsolved, and it's one of the weirdest mysteries it's the weirdest mystery of Vancouver Island. Like, did this guy really go to space? People think he's still up there and he went to space to go help the aliens with whatever. And I think the weirdest part is just how laid back they are about that outcome. Like, it's just like, when he comes back from space, we won't be here, but like, I don't know. And she's like, it's weird. Like,
yeah, like I said, I find it so bizarre that like that's seems like more reasonable to them than the fact that that was his remains in that car. Like it's weird. I mean, I guess they obviously knew him. Like we can't speak to obviously what he would have been like or maybe, like, to him, though, like, that family that does it, like, that's a logical explanation because they just know him and they believed him for whatever reason. So,
And he's a genius, and then, like, aliens could use him. And I guess if you believe in aliens, which I mean, I believe in aliens, but I guess if you believe, like if you really do believe that they come down here to do whatever, I don't know, like, they were just so, like, he went on interstellar voyage for 42 months to be back. It's
yeah. I
just
mean, like,
it's
obviously,
so
like, if you don't believe like, obviously, if you don't believe in aliens, you're gonna go with the logical explanation of that's him in the car. But if you do believe in aliens, then obviously you're gonna believe the alien theory, like, it's gonna separate the people, the believers but, like but I feel like I do believe in aliens, but yet still don't think that that's what happened, which is weird.
yeah, yeah,
But well, we kinda talked a little bit about this before we recorded, but,
yeah.
like, I don't know if like, I believe in other life outside of Earth,
Oh,
but, like,
totally.
in terms of, like, alien UFOs abducting people and, like,
I don't no,
doing experiments and stuff, whatever, like, I don't know if I believe that,
no.
but I do believe obviously there's other life, so I don't know.
Oh,
I'm, like, but I also feel bad too because I'm like, I wanna be open-minded because like, I would hate to be someone who actually did know something and, like, people didn't
yeah,
believe me, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
if it was true and, like, people just wouldn't believe you. So I always
yeah.
hate being that person and, like, being closed-minded. So I wanna have an open mind, but, like, when you lay out the facts of the case, I don't know, I just feel it's hard, I don't know. But I also feel bad because I don't wanna, like, discredit the family and be like, "No, they
I
just
feel like
don't."
his his friend that they interviewed on the episode of Never Seen Again, I got the vibe that he's probably the closest friend to him. He was he's very upset, like, I think it really hurts him the fact that the great it could have been any other like, him going to space seems like the least hurtful. Like, he was, like, adamant that Granger wouldn't have left him without say like, he wouldn't have killed himself, he wouldn't have done any got started a new life without saying goodbye. Like, he just I think and he was, like I think some people cling on to, like, the least hurtful outcome because they can't imagine that he was, like, mentally ill, like, you know what I mean? So and he's like he it makes him feel better that he's still alive in space doing his thing, like, you know? But,
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a mystery, it's still a debate, it's still and also, was that his like, the color of his truck? It's crazy, he was a genius, like, that not people like, he literally was, and s so people think, like, the other life forces needed him to help build stuff, you know? I
Yeah,
mean,
or the
he got
government.
yeah, and you think, like, that everyone like, a lot of people his sister, who's the closest person to him, was like, he had talents that anyone could that government or that people need, that he had the skills that people need like, so maybe the government did take him, he's an Area 51. Maybe he's working in space building you know what I mean? Like, but I think the craziest part of the case was, the blasé nature of, "He's in space and he'll be back. I can't wait for till he comes back from space," you know? It's so weird, right?
I mean, if that is what happened and he does come back, it'd be, like,
It's
fascinating
amazing.
to hear
Fascinating.
what he has to say, but I don't know. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. It's like I said, I wanna have an open mind, but also
yeah.
you have to go with what the facts are showing. I'm
You know, people
yeah.
say he did have mental health, other people said he was struggling. He was using LSD. I really do think, he was having, like, trips from hallucinations of aliens, and then the night as soon as the storm came, you know, he got like, he probably had dreams of the storm of the aliens saying, like, "The first storm, next storm, that's when you have to come with us." So, the storm comes, he writes that note, tapes it to his parents' door, takes off, like and then I think maybe, like, maybe the aliens told him, like, "This is how you get to us." So he blew himself up, thinking he was gonna blow himself up to space, and he didn't realize he was actually gonna kill himself. You know? I think he might have been in, like, a fog of some sort, and he accidentally killed himself. That's what I think. And everyone else is like, "Well, what happened to the rest of his bones?" But to me, it's like, it's in the middle of the woods. Animals took it. He was at, like, 6 years. Like, well, who knows how
Yeah.
long he was like, it was 6 years later the bones were found, but to me, like, only 3 bones being there is not a big is nothing because it's in the middle of the woods, in the middle of the mountain. Like, I was
Yeah.
surprised there's any bones left, you know?
Yeah.
So that's not like, some people were hitting, like, what was the rest of his bones, but that's not really anything insidious to me because any animal could have taken them.
Yeah. And like I said, I think you have to go back to for me, it's like you have to go back to, like, the VIN number. The VIN number, like, that is literally the point of the VIN number, you know it's the car. So I would say you can't get all I feel like you shouldn't be spending your time being like, "Well, it's not his car despite the VIN number because of the color." You would have to, like, start thinking about, "Okay, it is his car, so can
Well,
how do we explain the color?" Like, that to me, you have to move on from it's not his. I feel like you have to it is his. The VIN number it is. It has to be. So you have to think about, okay, well, if we know it's his car, but with the color is inconsistent, how do we explain that? Not like, oh, well, it's not his car. Well, I think it is his car. It's the VIN. So like, you have to. Yeah, I don't know.
when when the police find that out and they announce it, that like you think like, okay, like okay, people don't ask questions. That's like the ask question, like, okay, that is his truck, no dispute. But the fact that it was so still to this day widely disputed, like that's not his truck. Even though it's his VIN number, that is not his truck. It's and that's not the color. I mean, there's such a bunch of fascinating things. I even Googled it. I said, what was the color of Granger's truck the night when he went missing? And they still say, people say it was pretty dismal pink. People say it was gray. It was never blue. And it's still unsettled to this day, the debate of what color his truck was, you know? It's just it's just very weird. And so it's been over 40 years since he went missing. He was declared legally dead in 1986, but his parents have since passed. But like I said, they keep the back door open for him when he comes home from his mission. And so people think he's still gonna like in the like people think he will come back one day from space. And that's
Crazy,
so yeah,
crazy. Maybe he
that's the
will.
cra yeah, maybe he will, and maybe he wouldn't have aged today, he'll still be 32. And it's just funny, like, the sister's so adamant, she's like, like, space has a different time zone, like, she's like, you know, he won't have aged a day when he does come back, um, and they're just so, like, chill about it. I just thought that was weird, like, to me, it's if someone told like, they acted like it was possible, you know? Not impossible, it's I don't know, it's just but yeah, that's the case of Granger Taylor, and it's just mystery. It's still, one of the biggest mysteries on the island, you know? Where is he? Was that him found in the woods? Like, is he in space? So,
Weird.
I don't know, right?
That's a unique one for sure. That's weird.
I I was came across the episode, and I was just hooked, and I was just watching it, and I was like, "I have to talk about this case." Yeah, anyway, that's the case of Granger Taylor, and I wouldn't it be crazy if, you know, the news came that he comes walking out of the woods one day looking the same. He's like, "I was in space." You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Wouldn't that be crazy?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So nothing's impossible, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
That'd
yeah.
be crazy. That'd be the craziest update we'd ever provide for sure. I
Oh,
can tell
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. Wow. All right. So that does it for this week's episode of Crime Family. So if you are a fan of the show, you want to follow us on socials, you can reach us or find us at Crime Family Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and you can watch the video versions of our episodes on Spotify as well as YouTube. So you can go to YouTube, type in Crime Family Podcast, you will find us. That is where the video versions of these will live. Also on Spotify. Like I said, if you are listening on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else, it will just be the audio. So you have to go find us at those two places if you want the video version. You can also send us an email if you have any case suggestions or feedback or theories on any of the cases that we've covered, like this one or others. So you can email us at crimefamilypodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, that does it for this week. We'll be back next week. We are going to be starting next week. We are going to be doing a 3-part mini series for our finale. So next week we will be back with part 1 of the 3-part finale. I won't tell you what case it is or what the theme is, but you'll have to tune in next week for that. But we'll be back next week with a part 1 of our finale. So thank you so much, and thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and until then, take care. Bye.
Bye.